Well,
The other thing is, what's that?
I am so sorry, Your Honor. You can finish. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cut you
Uh,
off. That's so difficult. That's take into consideration if the ticket can be waived because I am a responsible, good driver.
and you're still here just saying nobody gave you a break, right?
No, Honor, you're misunderstanding me because I'm not aware of breaks and tickets. This is my first one, so I hope you understand that I
Okay.
don't know that.
One Karen walked into court acting like a little charm would get her out of the ticket, but the judge wasn't buying it. What makes it worse is she has no clue how lucky she already was. The officer originally clocked her going much faster but cut her a break, and only wrote her up for 6 to 10 over. That's basically a gift in traffic court. Instead of recognizing that, she's here complaining about how unfair it all is. She keeps acting like she never gets a break when, in reality, the officer just saved her money and points on her license. So what do you guys think? Are you siding with Karen here, or the judge who's showing way more patience than most of us would?
This is a speeding citation on an actual 88 and a 70. However, it was only written as 6 to 10 over. So, Ms. Aguilar, you are here on this 6 to 10 over speeder to do one of three things. First is you could admit responsibility to the citation. Or two, admit responsibility, but you'd like to provide some sort of explanation to court as to how or why this happened. Or three, you wish to contest this citation. In other words, fight the ticket at what we call informal hearing. What were you looking to do?
Number two.
Okay. And what is it you'd like to tell me?
Your Honor, I'd like to explain what happened that day when I received the citation. I was in the left lane passing a slower moving vehicle, and I did increase my speed briefly in order to pass and merge back into the right lane. But I was not driving recklessly. I was pulled over shortly after by the officer who was originally traveling the opposite direction and made a U-turn on that highway. Given the circumstance and nearby traffic, I'm not even sure the speed he clocked was mine. I thought I was pulled over because at the time I did not have my license plate attached to the back. It was in my front seat. So I was not aware of getting pulled over for speed. I just thought it was my car needing the identification. During the stop, the officer did conduct the conduction or the interaction made me uncomfortable. He questioned several times about alcohol and drugs, despite there being no evidence. He kept pressuring that, so that kind of made me like really scared. He did peer through my windows of the car. The car is brand new, so there's really nothing there. I've never been in trouble before. I have a really good driving record. I do take driving seriously. I lost my brother to a reckless driver. I'm just asking the court to just please take the circumstances into consideration when reviewing the citation.
Okay. Well, ma'am, if you contested the citation, I would hear evidence and decide whether or not you were responsible or not. You're admitting responsibility to the citation, so I can't change the nature of your ticket. Now, lots of times what people, when they come in here, what they're concerned about is getting points on their license. Do you know what I mean by that? Is
Yes,
that what you're concerned about?
I'm concerned about the points and the amount. I'm just concerned about it all, Your Honor. This is
Uh,
my first ticket I'm trying to fight.
well, first of all, the officer didn't write you a ticket for going 88 and a 70. The trooper gave you a break and wrote you the second wimpiest ticket he could write you. I think this is only a 1 point ticket. But here's what I'll explain to you about points. I'm not going to give you points on this. The trooper didn't give you points on this. Points don't come from us. All right, that fines and costs is the only penalty. Now, points come from Secretary of State. Secretary of State court, two different animals. They can't tell me what to do. I can't tell them what to do.
Okay.
But here's what I would say about points. First of all, points die a natural death every 2 years. So if you want to, just outweight this point and it will go away after 2 years. But maybe more to the point, if this is what concerns you, is there's a way for you to get rid of that point. But all I can do is explain to you how to do it for yourself. I can't do it for you. But are you curious?
I am curious. I'm also curious to know if I don't know, I'm trying, this is my first time. I'm not sure if I'm doing this
Uh-huh.
right. trying to fight it. I'm just agreeing with the officer. I honestly don't even remember that day how much speed I went, because like I said, he was traveling opposite and there was multiple
Yeah.
cars and he was behind
Well,
another
here's
car.
here's a couple of things I would tell you. First of all, we do not mind people coming in here and you know, essentially saying, look, I don't know what I'm doing, but I want to see what happens, and you know, this is what I want. The first thing first is, you know, when you're telling me that I thought I got pulled over for no plate, that doesn't make a lot of sense, because the trooper, if he's coming at you the opposite way, he wouldn't know you didn't have a plate on the back of your car. So to spin around on you and pull you over is probably for a moving violation.
Well,
The other thing is, what's that?
I am so sorry, Your Honor. You can finish. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
The other thing is, most of the people don't realize just how far away that they're getting radared by that. So in other words, it would be the opposite direction radar in the front of the trooper's vehicle. Yes, you likely got radared when you were passing someone, and that's why it was 88. I will tell you this, though. The actual law is you still can only go up to the speed limit to pass somebody. That's how slow somebody's supposed to be going for you to pass them. You were allowed to go up to 70 to pass, but passing is not an exception to the speeding rule. You still only can go the speed limit. But like I said, if you don't remember how fast you're going, the trooper's testimony would have been, of course, that his radar said 88 and that he checked his radar. So if you had a hearing, I likely would have found you responsible. But here we are, sort of on the back end.
I do have a question. If we're able to pull the footage of that day, because the officer did say his camera was on, and when I was passing the car, he wasn't behind me like right away. It was a few miles down the road, and then he went behind me. So that's why I thought it was my license, not the
I will
speed.
let the trooper correct me, but when they say that, the camera comes on when they turn on lights and sirens. So it wouldn't have been on coming at you when it caught you speeding, and then he looped around on you, and then if to pull you over, he put his lights on. That's the camera footage he'd have, not of the speeding incident.
Can he pull that's so difficult. That's since there is no proof, and he said I was going 88 and I'm just agreeing to it. What do I do, Your Honor?
I get wanting to fight a ticket, but this is definitely not the way to do it. Her attitude alone ruins any chance she had of walking out clean. The judge is being overly polite and calm, which honestly just makes her whining stand out even more. He's one of the nicest judges you'll see, and she's still testing his patience like it's some kind of game. Then she even admits she didn't know how fast she was going, which basically means, yeah, I was reckless, but I didn't notice. The officer already gave her a huge break by lowering the speed on paper, so there's nothing left to argue. If she keeps pushing, she could actually end up worse off than before. Judges don't like having their time wasted over what's basically a disguised warning. At this point, it feels less about justice and more about her need to be right. Classic Karen playbook: argue until you feel like you've won, even if the facts say otherwise. What do you guys think? Should the judge cut her off, or let her keep digging her own hole?
You could fight the ticket, but like I said, I know what his testimony is going to be, and your testimony is going to be, I really don't know how fast I was going. So
But
there's not much.
You just said he
What's
didn't
that?
have. You just said that there was the radar doesn't. He can't prove that radar was my car when he
No,
was trying.
ma'am, that's sort of a misunderstanding. Proof
Okay.
comes in many different forms, right? Now,
Yes.
if he had video footage, right, that would be one type of proof. But his testimony is in fact proof, because he would be under oath and he would testify as to your speed. That is proof.
And for mine, can I be under oath and testify?
You would be under oath as well, but your proof would be, I really don't know how fast I was going. I just don't think I was going that fast. Which one of those two proofs sounds more firm and that I would go with at the end of the day?
Well, I would go with mine because the officer was really traveling the opposite direction. And I know I'm a safe driver. That's why I said I don't know. And that's why I was so confused when he pulled me over, was because
Ma'am, would you like to have a hearing?
If that's possible, yeah, I think I would.
All right. So Trooper, if you would go ahead and raise your right hand.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Aguilar, go ahead and raise your right hand.
I apologize about the video as well. I'm having connectivity issues.
That's all right, as long as I can hear you. You swear or affirm any testimony you give here today would be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I would like to get proof. I feel like I should see the video to testify for the proof.
Ma'am,
To see
the enormous amount of evidence that he just testified to is the proof, just so we're clear.
Yeah, he said that he was clocking south, but I saw him while traveling before passing. He was moving and making a U-turn. He wasn't sitting still. He wasn't. That's why I'm really confident that there was other passing vehicles. And he said that he's confident that the radar did read, and that's not technically proof. Like he's just verbally saying confident. And then he was behind a different car before.
No, ma'am. I'm gonna sort of crawl through this because if there was somebody else behind you, we wouldn't do this. But I want you to leave here understanding what happened.
Okay.
So what he testified to is he's literally just sitting there with his radar on, right? So to make sure that the radar works correctly, in the beginning of his shift, his radar has to check against a separately calibrated speedometer in his vehicle and come up with the same reading. If it doesn't, he can't use the radar all day. Then he uses the radar all day, and he does that check at the end of the shift too. And if it's not working at the end of the shift against his separately calibrated speedometer, he would just void all the tickets that he wrote.
Right.
So the first thing he said is visually he sees your car, right? Now we would let back in the old days, you'd let officers or troopers guess at speeds because this is what they do all day and they're pretty good at guessing speed. But we don't let them say how fast you're going. But we do let them testify that they think this automobile is traveling above the speed limit of 70 miles an hour, which he did. Okay. Then what he did is get you with his radar, right? So he knows that you're the car in the radar because it tones out. In other words, it makes an audible tone. And the audible tone changes in pitch depending on how fast it goes. So he also knows if that tone doesn't match the number he's seeing, something's wrong. And then once your car is out of the cone of his radar, the tone stops. So that's how he knows it's sort of your car. Then he sort of flipped around on you and pulled you over. So he actually has testified 3 different ways that you are traveling well above the speed limit of 70. And what you're telling me is, I don't know how fast I'm going, but I just don't think I was going that fast. Now I have to pick one of those sets of evidence, right? Either your evidence, which is your testimony, or his evidence, which is his testimony. And I don't have to find beyond a reasonable doubt. You've heard that before, right? Because this isn't a crime. The standard for this, because it's a civil infraction, is you likely did it, 51%. So when I weigh all his evidence and testimony versus essentially the lack of evidence and testimony on your behalf, of course I would find it is more likely than not that you were actually speeding. You were actually going faster than the ticket you were written, but you were at least going 6 to 10 over. And that's why I would find you responsible. If you're searching for more than that, or that doesn't feel like a sufficient explanation to you, I don't know what else I can do for you, man. That's how this works all day, every day.
I understand, Your Honor. Is it possible confirmation from his radar to make sure that it was working accurately that day for me?
Well,
she really doesn't get it, and that's what makes this so frustrating. The fine is small. The points barely matter. This could have been over in 5 minutes. If money was her real concern, she'd lose way more hiring a lawyer to drag this out than just paying the ticket. But instead, she's stuck on the idea that she deserves more breaks than she already got. That's pure entitlement. And now she's trying the radar was wrong excuse. Modern radar guns are incredibly accurate, even when the officer's car is moving. Courts have ruled again and again that unless the radar wasn't calibrated properly, it's valid evidence. Plus, the officer already lowered her speed anyway. Fighting it now is like arguing about whether your coupon is valid when the cashier is already giving you a bigger discount. It makes no sense. At this point, it's less about the law and more about her attitude, and her attitude is what's going to cost her. Do you think people like this actually believe their excuses, or do they just argue for the sake of it?
Doesn't get it. And that's what makes this so frustrating to watch. I mean, the fine is so small and the points barely matter. I mean, this could have been over in 5 minutes flat. If money was really the issue here, I think she'd be losing way more by hiring a lawyer to drag this whole thing out instead of just paying the ticket. But instead, I mean, she's stuck on this idea that she deserves more breaks than she already got. This is just entitlement at its finest. And here's her thing about, but the radar was wrong excuse. Modern radar guns are incredibly accurate, so even if the officer's patrol car is moving, like, it's still gonna be fine. Courts have ruled over and over again that unless the radar was improperly calibrated, it's valid evidence. And in this case, the officer already gave her a discount speed anyway, so fighting it is like arguing over whether your coupon is valid, while the cashier is already giving you a bigger discount. I mean, it's just pointless and the judge knows it here. This just feels less about law now and more about attitude, and her attitude is going to cost her. I mean, do you guys actually think people like this believe their own excuses? Or do they just like arguing for the fun of it?
Honestly, this one was hilarious to watch. Some people really live in their own version of reality. The judge explained everything as clearly as possible, and she still didn't get it. From the judge's perspective, his patience was next level. Most judges would have shut her down immediately. Props to him for staying calm because he's one of the nicest judges I've seen. The part that stood out most was when he reminded her that passing another car while speeding is still illegal. That's basic traffic law, but it just went in one ear and out the other for her. It's wild how many people think their excuses can rewrite the rules of the road. This just proves entitlement doesn't work in a courtroom. It only makes you look like a textbook Karen. So what do you guys think? Should the judge have hit her with a harsher penalty, or was he right to stay patient? Thanks for watching, guys. Take care.